that's fine. If you're happy with that stop. Okay, I don't want you so close to me. I want you out almost 10 yards.
Okay, let's watch Sara Powell. Here's the first stop. Looks like she starts to stop well, but then doesn't hold him into the stop and lets him come out of it. Coming back, he's under himself, and then she lets him come back up, and he doesn't actually move too much more forward, but he puts his weight back on the front before he's actually stopped, instead of stopping on his hind end. And then I think the signal is too gradual with the reins. They don't come all at once, and with the legs, I'm thinking they come at the wrong time. That first stop, I think you could actually see the legs, and they came a little late. They came when his back feet were in the air. These next ones, I don't think you can see the legs very well. But the pull for the stop, and I assume the legs also, aren't very distinctive and aren't getting his attention enough to actually stop him. Pulling back, gradual, and then pull back more instead of loose reins until the one big stop to make him actually stop all at once. I think you're starting to give these signals. You start pulling back a little bit more, about 3 strides, and then finally pull back for the 1 stride, but don't make it one single signal. You're spreading your signals out, and I assume you're doing the same thing with your legs, not making it a one distinctive signal to stop like all at once. Once you get him kind of stopping, then you're not holding him in there. If you don't get him under himself very well, it's hard to hold him, but you're letting him come out of that a little early. The turn, once he feels like turning, seems to be fine. He's on a right lead here. He bounces a little bit with the back end before he turns, and I think that's because you weren't holding him into the stop, but he turned fairly well. Actually making the turn, he did fairly well. And one thing you're actually doing pretty well is you're holding him so that he turns the last part of his turn on his hind end. A lot of these other people are getting them started to turn and then letting them run around with the back end. But like on this one, he starts like coming around wrong, and you're actually giving the signal like a neck rein signal, which isn't correct. But then right here, you pull him back into the turn. That's how you should do it. You should pull him back so that he sits on his hind end to make that turn, and that's what you're doing finally after you started doing it wrong. There, you'll start a neck rein signal that is wrong and gets him moving wrong. But right there, when you're pulling back, he sits back, on his hind end and pivots just on the hind end and pulls off. And that's the kind of signal you want to be giving more, is the holding him back on his hind end as you're giving the signal to come around, which is actually it feels like a pulling back and pushing him over with your leg, holding him back on the hind end. And you seem to be doing that well about halfway around each turn. I notice he's on the wrong leads on some of these. Let's see, he's on the right lead here. There, you're turning left. He hasn't really found his legs yet, and so he doesn't get into a good turn. That also, if you get them stopped completely before you start making the turn, it'll help them even if they're on the wrong lead. Here he was, I think, is on the left lead, but he never really got him stopped. He never had a good one-time stop, and he's kind of almost trotting down as you're starting that turn, so his back end isn't in a good position. He tries. His back end could be in a good position, but he's still moving around, hopping around before he's, you get him encouraged to turn around. And again, about halfway through this turn, you're pulling him back like you should. That's all. Bye.